Narrated by Ali. I used to get emotional urethral discharges frequently and felt shy to ask Allah's Messenger about it. So I requested Al-Miqdad bin al-Aswad to ask the Prophet about it. Al-Miqdad asked him and he replied, one has to perform ablution after it. Narrated by Zayd bin Khalid. I asked Uthman bin Affan about a person who engaged in intercourse but did no discharge. Uthman replied, he should perform ablution like the one for an ordinary prayer, but he must wash his penis. Uthman added, I heard it from Allah's Messenger. I asked Ali az-Zubair, Talha and Ubay bin Ka'b about it and they, too, gave the same reply. This order was cancelled later on and taking a bath became necessary for such cases. Narrated by Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. Allah's Messenger sent for an Ansari man who came with water dropping from his head. The Prophet said, perhaps we have forced you to hurry up, haven't we? The Ansari replied, yes. Allah's Messenger further said, if you are forced to hurry up during intercourse, or you do not discharge, then ablution is due on you. This order was cancelled later on, i.e. one has to take a bath. Narrated by Usama bin Zayd. When Allah's Messenger departed from Arafat, he turned towards a mountain pass where he answered the call of nature. After he had finished, I poured water and he performed ablution, and then I said to him, O Allah's Messenger, will you offer the prayer? He replied, the Musalla, place of the prayer, is ahead of you, in Al-Muzdalifa. Narrated by Al-Mughira bin Shuba. I was in the company of Allah's Messenger on one of the journeys, and he went out to answer the call of nature, and after he finished, I poured water and he performed ablution. He washed his face, forearms, and passed his wet hand over his head and over the tukuf, socks made from thick fabric or leather. Narrated by Abdullah bin Abbas. That he stayed overnight in the house of Maymunah, the wife of the Prophet, his aunt. He added, I lay on the bed, cushioned transversely, while Allah's Messenger and his wife lay in the lengthwise direction of the cushion. Allah's Messenger slept till the middle of the night, either a bit before or a bit after, and then woke up, rubbing the traces of sleep off his face with his hands. He then recited the last 10 verses of Surah Al-Imran, got up and went to a hanging water skin. He then performed the ablution from it, and it was a perfect ablution, and then stood up to offer the prayer. I, too, got up and did as the Prophet had done. Then I went and stood by his side. He placed his right hand on my head and caught my right ear and twisted it. He prayed 2 rakat, then 2 rakat, and 2 rakat, and then 2 rakat, and then 2 rakat, and then 2 rakat, separately 6 times, and finally 1 rakah, the witr. Then he lay down again in the bed till the muaddin came to him, whereupon the Prophet got up, offered a 2 light rakat prayer, and went out and led the Fajr prayer. Narrated by Asma bint Abu Bakr. I came to Aisha, the wife of the Prophet, during the solar eclipse. The people were standing and offering the prayer, and she was also praying. I asked her, what is wrong with the people? She beckoned with her hand towards the sky and said, Subhanallah. I asked her, is there a sign? She pointed out, yes. So I, too, stood for the prayer till I fell unconscious, and later on I poured water on my head. After the prayer, Allah's Messenger praised and glorified Allah and said, just now I have seen something which I never saw before at this place of mine, including paradise and hell. I have been inspired, and have understood, that you will be put to trials in your graves, and these trials will be like the trials of Ad-Dajjal, or nearly like it. The sub-narrator is not sure of what Asma said. Angels will come to every one of you and ask, what do you know about this man? A believer will reply, he is Muhammad, Allah's Messenger, and he came to us with self-evident truth and guidance. So we accepted his teaching, believed and followed him. Then the angels will say to him to sleep in peace, as they have come to know that he was a believer. On the other hand, a hypocrite or a doubtful person will reply, I do not know, but heard the people saying something, and so I said the same. Narrated by Yahya al-Mazini. A person asked Abdullah bin Zayd, who was the grandfather of Amr bin Yahya, can you show me how Allah's Messenger used to perform ablution? Abdullah bin Zayd replied in the affirmative and asked for water. He poured it on his hands and washed them twice, then he rinsed his mouth thrice and washed his nose with water thrice by putting water in it and blowing it out. He washed his face thrice, and after that he washed his forearms up to the elbows twice, and then passed his wet hands over his head from its front to its back and vice versa, beginning from the front and taking them to the back of his head up to the nape of the neck, and then brought them to the front again from where he had started, and washed his feet, up to the ankles. Narrated by Amr. My father saw Amr bin Abi Hassan asking Abdullah bin Zayd about the ablution of the Prophet. Abdullah bin Zayd asked for earthenware pot containing water, and in front of them performed ablution like that of the Prophet. He poured water from the pot over his hand and washed his hands thrice, and then he put his hands in the pot and rinsed his mouth and washed his nose by putting water in it and then blowing it out with 3 handfuls of water. Again he put his hand in the water and washed his face thrice and washed his forearms up to the elbows twice, and then put his hands in the water and then passed them over his head by bringing them to the front and then to the rear of the head once, and then he washed his feet up to the ankles. Narrated by Abu Juhayfa. Allah's Messenger came to us at noon, and water for ablution was brought to him. After he had performed ablution, the remaining water was taken by the people and they started smearing their bodies with it, as a blessed thing. The Prophet offered 2 rakat of the Zuhr prayer and then 2 rakat of the Asr prayer, while a short spear, or stick, was there, as a sutra, in front of him.